what, where, why. Publishing demands and truths.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in the midst of the four of them and of all of you. And talking about publishing, this is one opportunity which an author gets to grill the publishers on publishing, right? And the publishers have to answer. Typically when you write to them on mails and talk to them, in private forums, they kind of just wish it away. But today, they can't do that, right, Mr. Chopra? So I want to start off by asking Milee this question. Okay. It is normally said, Milee, that you can actually win a lottery, but you can't get a book published. You get what, thousands of unsolicited manuscripts in a month, in a year. So, and you end up publishing about 200 books a year, new books a year. How do you pick what to buy, which book to publish?
Well, first of all, I'd say that books do get published, and we do publish a lot of debut authors every year. We publish, at Penguin, we publish close to 300 books in our local list every year. And I think there are a lot of people writing, but if you know the basic do's and don'ts, if you're a new writer, how to approach a publisher, how to write a proposal, then things become easier. Of course, everything doesn't get published, but I wouldn't say that there is no hope. We publish a lot of new writers, and in fact, we are looking for a lot of new talent all the time. So I would say that you should do a bit of homework before we actually approach a publisher. Write out your proposal really well. These are some basic things. If you're not going through an agent, you're going directly to a publisher, then you should make a proposal in a professional way and actually follow the guidelines which are available on the website of all publishers. So these are some basic do's and don'ts that new authors should keep in mind, and they make our jobs easier, and it also makes it easier for people to actually know what the book is about. Because if you're not sending the whole thing, if it's only a concept or some sample chapters, it gives us a really good inkling into what the book is actually about. So these are the things that I would recommend.
How many of you here have actually written a manuscript? And how many of you, obviously all of you want to get published, how many of you are published? Okay, there are a lot of hands this side of people who have written manuscripts but haven't got published. Now, Milee, okay, let me move on to Mr. Chopra. Mr. Chopra, take a company like Milee's, for example. They get, say, 1,000 manuscripts in a year, out of which they have what? How many editors do you have?
So we have about 16 commissioning editors. 16
commissioning editors.
And we roughly get like 40 book proposals every day.
Wonderful. So 40 into 30 is 1,200 into 12 is about 14,000 manuscripts for 16 editors. How do you think they can manage?
I don't know. I've never worked in Penguin or Random House.
No, but it's pretty much true for the industry, right? It's not Penguin. It's the publishing industry.
Well, yes. The fact is that there are lots and lots of writers out there, and 99% are junk. That's an honest fact.
Oh, that's a strong statement.
Because they don't put in the effort. Like Milee just now said, please be sure of what you're sending. Do your homework. That is very important. I feel the youngsters are keen to get published, but they don't do their homework. The numbers that arrive in our offices is just too large. But answering your question, which the other panelists can correct me if I'm wrong, within 20 pages you know whether it's worth it or not. Even if you don't send a synopsis, you don't send a full proposal, a portfolio, you just send in the manuscript, within 20 pages an editor knows worth it or not worth it. And they just spike, and that's all.
So would it be fair to say that, for the benefit of all the people here, that when you send a manuscript to a publisher, just make sure that your story in the first 20 pages has a hook which is strong enough to grip the editor, read through the book and and give you a better chance of getting published?
No, I think that would be a bit of a misconception. I think what Milee just now suggested is the right thing. And this is, I'm saying, because everything has changed over the last 20, 30 years. Everything is changing and rapidly changing. The population is increasing of writers, and publishers, though the numbers are increasing also in India, but the fact is they have to go through those manuscripts and look at them. You don't have to write in a way that the first 20 pages are very good. What I'm trying to say is that the proposal that you send to the publishers should be a perfect one, which stands you in a good state, so that they can at least look at your proposal and ask for the manuscript to come in. I think.
Okay.
We have a different structure here. Go ahead. Hey, so at Lead Start, we are far more a startup-y company, and to answer your query of how does it get sorted, we've put a mechanics in it, right? So the method is quite simple. We've put together an 18-pointer matrix, okay? It's on the website, okay? Broken down between 5 key things, okay? So one is the genres that we want to invest, okay? Those are 3 points, -3 to +3. So for example, if you are not investing in poetry, it'll get a -3, right? If you're investing in alternate mythology, it'll get a +3 irrespective of the manuscript, okay? Then there is the manuscript within those 18 points has only 6 points. There is the author, the credentials of the author, that is -3 to +3. So there is a team that runs through before even the commissioning editor gets to see that, irrespective of the entire ocean of stuff that comes in, only the work that crosses a +5 actually gets to the commissioning editor table. So that filtering, we've kind of put together a process, and that's how we do it. And we are able to manage it at some way.
Well, that's in a way saying that, and that's a hard fact. I don't think even my colleagues out here would like this, that book is no longer a world of ideas. It's being marketed and sold like any other commodity is.
It is.
And why not? Because at the end of the day, the bottom line matters the most. There were times, when we used to publish an author only because we knew it will not sell, but only a small number we used to do it because it was so beautiful a manuscript. Yeah. Today, it is not being done. And Vikram Seth is one of those examples who first did his poetry books, which nobody took. And there's so many others like that. But we did it only because it was very beautiful. But those days are gone. Because you have to sit across the table, like he said, you have to do that work like you do for producing a pair of shoes or any other commodity, down to condoms. You have to do exactly the same mathematical work. And that is, unfortunately, a hard fact today.
Well, Mr. Chopra, would be fair to say that books in the past used to be a work of art, but in any case now it's commerce for the publisher also, right?
Yes, it is, certainly. But let me say, there's lots of books which are still coming, which are works of art, It's not that they are not coming. It's just that the publishing houses are no longer controlled by editors or chief editors or publishers. They're being controlled by accountants. No, that's a fact. They are controlled by accountants who have to answer to the board or to the directors or to the proprietors what it's all about. In India, I'm talking, say, let's even take 20 years back, proprietors were the the publishers, they were the chief editors, they were everything. And that is why a lot of the authors were most unhappy, but there was no other place to go. It was all proprietary concerns. Today, everything has changed. And I think the credit for that really should be given to Penguin and David Davidar, because he changed the whole ball game of publishing in India. I'm not talking of educational publishing because Macmillan's or Oxford University Press and all were there, but it was when Peter picked up a youngster like David, trained him there and sent him to India, everything changed after that.
Okay.
I just wanted to add something, Ravi. That when someone's looking at becoming an author, I think here we're mostly, what was discussed earlier was mostly about fiction. And I think now the Indian publishing industry, or anywhere in the world, you see there's so many categories within fiction, and now non-fiction is also such a big segment of Indian publishing. Maybe 10 years ago we thought Indian publishing or any publishing world was just 70 to 80% fiction. Now it's Cheney and Jaiko especially does a lot more non-fiction than fiction, though we are also doing a lot of fiction. And each category, each subcategory in each genre requires a different kind of attention, a different kind of mindset. So my advice to most youngsters is, if you study that particular segment, if you're writing romance, or you're writing crime, or you're writing a mystery novel, each of them have a certain requirements which makes that book very successful. It's very important to understand what works in that particular genre. So I think that adds to sort of what you were saying earlier.
Perfect. Takes me on to my next question, and Milee, maybe you could take that. How important is it for any author to know somebody in the publishing industry to get published? I'm asking this question because it's with 14,400 manuscripts, we did the background calculations. It's almost impossible to read. Let's face it. So. How important is that? I know Milee, I know somebody else, I know somebody who knows, the editor, I know an author, and that's why you see a lot of these authors trying to connect with each other socially, so that then you can actually send the manuscript across.
Yeah, I think there are two things to this. A lot of authors who are totally new and don't know anybody in the industry, they have agents to go to, and that is why the agency business in India is growing. But it always helps if you know other authors or publishers or editors, because then you know the basic do's and don'ts. So there is somebody who already has a certain experience in that industry, and you can ask all your questions if you're new. These are all for new people who are not published yet, looking to get published. Like, for example, I'm sitting here and telling you how you should write a proposal. I mean, so these are some basic things that people can get out of conversations of people, whether you're talking to another author or another publisher. So I do think that it is helpful if you know somebody. I would also, again, if you don't have anybody, you can always go to an agent. So that is the other solution. If you don't know anybody, it's not the end of the world. You can still, there are ways, if you are determined, you're really passionate about your writing and you want to get it published, there are ways to find out more about the industry.
No, Milee, I don't agree with you.
Why so?
Because even to get to a literary agent, you need to know somebody who knows literary agent.
No, I don't think so. You can Google.
Otherwise you just can't get to a literary agent as well.
No, I think
literary
you can go
agents
to
have
Google.
tantrums which are bigger than publishing houses.
Not always. I think you can go to Google and just search for literary agents in India. You will find all of them or most of them there, and you can try your luck.
Akash, your views on this?
I think we get since we're a family-owned business, we do get a lot of people who know, someone in the family or someone submitting. But I think it's essentially the process is very professional. So, we have, at least all the editors have a certain process they need to follow before selecting something. So I think it does help to at least get to the door. But I think the process itself is still very, it is based on merit.
Yeah, so if you know somebody, that doesn't mean that you'll get published. Yeah. Ultimately, your work has to be good. So you might know everybody in the industry, but is that a guarantee that your work will get published? No. Ultimately, it is what you do.
With so little to choose from among the manuscripts that come to you, often that helps. At least helps in getting the manuscript read by the right person.
I think the only way it can help is that maybe you will get a response quicker than you normally would get. So let's say if our standard process is 2 to 3 months, it comes through an author or somebody that we know, maybe we will evaluate it more quickly. But it might not get the job done if you want to.
Okay, you've just made me jump to my next question, as in the question after the next. So I'll hold on to my next question and jump to the question you just prompted me on. Mr. Chopra, publishers are traditionally known to be extremely, are known for the lack of responsiveness. It's like a deep well, which is like, you drop a stone, you wait for the sound. nobody responds. Today, even if we interview a candidate and decline the candidate an appointment, we send him a regret letter. I work in a finance company, so applicants come and apply for a loan. We reject the loan, we send them a reject letter. But in the publishing industry, an author sends a manuscript and just keeps refreshing his mailbox day after day, every minute, hoping for a response. Nothing.
You are absolutely right. I must admit that. You're absolutely right. There are two types of publishers. One are the new houses which have come, these international houses. The numbers
What
are...
is your grouse against the international house?
No, nothing. I think they have done a great job. The whole scenario of Indian publishing, it changed with these multinationals coming in. I must admit, as a publisher, because I worked with Indian publishing houses, at that time there were no foreign publishing houses, we never used to even pay the authors the exact amount that was due to them. That's a hard fact. I'm admitting it myself. My proprietors used to always fudge the figures, or I don't know what they did, but at least with these international publishing houses, you can be sure that your money is safe. It'll come. They are so professional in their working. So I've got nothing. In fact, I've got more against Indian publishing houses than the international publishing houses. But yes, response is, because it's a very long process. In each publishing house, it's a long process. Like he was explaining the numbers that they have to go through and add. Milee at the Random House, and they have so many manuscripts. And after all, at the end of the day, it's not one person's decision. You have to present that manuscript or the whole proposal to your colleagues, and then they decide. And sales and marketing are very important at this stage. They also, I don't know their functioning, but I'm just saying, with each publishing house, this is what it is. And to reply to, I think, 14,000 figure you gave, to reply to 14,000 is next to impossible. It's not humanly possible. So if you do not, my thumb rule is I always tell my prospective authors, because in India everything happens through connection. Your first question, earlier question, even if you have to go and pay an electricity bill or you have to get an electricity connection, you say, who's got connection in that and that office? So similarly with publishing, who's got connection? And as Milee said, it gets your earlier response. But lots of them don't even get a response. So my thumb rule is, if you don't hear back from a publisher for 6 months, and I'm only speaking for myself, not for them, but if you don't hear from a publisher for 6 months, it means it's out. Try another one.
I just had something to add. I think there are basically three kinds of decisions. So one is, with something that is a clear decline. For example, the kind of manuscripts that you were talking about that are not, which are easy for the editorial team to sort of decline. Then there are ones that are really exceptional, which are also sometimes relatively easy decisions for the publisher. And within a short time, either the name is very big, or you have a very good background, or you have a great marketing plan. Maybe that makes it. I think the problem for a lot of publishers may be in the middle ground, when they don't know whether this book is going to be a big bestseller, or is it going to be a good book to publish for them. I think there is where I think on the publisher's side, if there's which we're trying to do, is a little more communication with the author and saying, okay, these are the reasons we haven't yet made a decision. Is there something we can talk about? Can we come and meet, and can you present some of your ideas on how you think you're going to do X, Y, Z? I think that has helped us resolve a couple of issues for us, and it's made us, we've done, after meeting an author, it's very often we've said yes, and very often we've said no. But it's speeded up the process. And the only problem is I think everyone is short on time. So I think, but if the middle ground is covered better from the publisher side, I think we'd have less problems.
Additionally, say you're continually thinking of just evaluation, but all her 16 commissioning editors are also processing 300 manuscripts. And the total, as in the bandwidth there, they exhaust 90% of the bandwidth talking to the people who have been commissioned, and your backlist, which is some 750, 800, 900 authors who are anyways talking to you continually. So that much amount of bandwidth is getting lost.
Okay, just as a feedback not from the readers and the wannabe authors, but from a moderator, is and if an editor spends an hour reading 20 pages of a manuscript and then taking the decision. If it's a reject after 20 pages, all he has to do is to click a button on the computer which says reject, and an automated email goes to the author saying, look, we didn't find your manuscript good enough. End of story.
Ravi, we are very lazy people.
Ravi, actually, I'll not agree with that. So I'll just taking Akash's point and going to the second. Please understand the issues that we are facing. So at one stage, so we process a manuscript typically in 180 days, right? Which means there are 90 projects getting processed at any point in time, and 15, looking at release. Now, for the next 15 to come in, we actually don't know that this month we're going to be getting 5 good ones or maybe 0 good ones, right? So at our side, what Akash has also done, we do something similar, because 80% of the things that you want to even pick up are in between. There is no clear reject or a clear in. So what we do at our side, at least, we send them a letter of intent saying that we want to look at it, not at this moment, but at some point in time we'll possibly. But you're free to go and present to others as well.
Okay.
We do that from our side at least. The easier rejects are easier actually.
Okay. And Swarup, my next question, to you is, how important is writing and story and plot and narrative the only thing which is important, or is the profile of the author important too? And
Actually, yeah.
in a world where there are publishers in India who only publish film stars, and good authors get declined, and Kim Kardashian's butt fees and selfies get published as a book, how important is it being, the social status of an author vis-a-vis his writing skills?
The social status, it is important. It's absolutely important, and we have stated that on our website quite clearly. So within those 18 points that I was mentioning, 3 points are meant for
Let me tell you, there was a point in time when the gentleman to my left had declined I.S. Johor's fabulous book because he felt it didn't fit in the criteria.
No.
It is not the entire criteria.
I'll answer that.
So it is not the entire criteria, right?
No, it's yeah.
Yeah. So within the 18, say possibly about 20% means that. Let me take it from another perspective. The publishing industry is actually the original venture capital industry. In the 100 projects that we'll invest, we are bound to lose full money or make losses in 50% of the projects. 30% would barely break even. We're dependent on 20%, which will make marginal money, 3% which will be the annuity and get into the strong backlist, right? So and that happens as a process, irrespective of all filtering that has done. I don't know one commissioning editor who's gotten it right beyond 20%. 20% success rate is a great commissioning editor, right? Now, with that happening, we need to be reducing the risk. It is not so much about success as much as about risk reduction. And if you have an X kind of a profile, you're a professor at some place, you're doing something, you have X following, at least say 1,000 books nikal jayega, that'd be good enough.
Yeah, no, I'd like to add to that. I think that is certainly important, especially with non-fiction. You need to, let's say somebody is writing about space science, then you want to get the best person to do that. Yeah. Somebody you want, you're writing a book on skin or beauty. So the profile definitely helps. You have to be the best, or at least in the top 3. I think that the way that we look at it is that I want people who are in the top 3 in the country in the field that they're writing in for non-fiction. It's slightly more tricky, I would say, for fiction, where we experiment a bit more and we do give opportunities to a lot of new people.
But isn't it like then pandering to the market and then, just what the market wants, feed them more?
No, we want to give
rather
them the
than going
best.
and hunting
No, we want
for
to give
new
them the
authors?
best. We want the best people in their respective fields to come out and write and share their work and share their ideas. What's wrong with that?
Ravi, I just take one step back and ask everyone. Sorry. Why do we publish a book, or why do you want that book to be published, or why does the publisher want that book to be published, or why, as an author, do you want your book to be published? I think and for everyone is a different sort of answer to that question, and I think there's some people I know who are just happy to see their books published, and then it doesn't matter, they can go to a self-publisher or whatever and just get it done and they're happy. But if you're looking, okay, I want to be a successful author, I want my books to be sold, I want my books to be available everywhere, then there's a different metrics, a different kind of way to look at it. And for most publishers, as we said, because we're in a business, we are looking at sales, we're looking at good content and also saleable content. So both those things are very important. And as an author, if not a profile, at least the enthusiasm, the energy, the ideas are also very crucial. For example, we did a book recently called Think and Win Like Dhoni by a first-time author. She's a young student with no background, but we saw so much energy in her that we are almost close to making that a national bestseller within 4 days. And our definition is 10,000 copies right now. I don't know what it is for you, but we're very close to that. So there are a lot of instances where you can do it with it. So, but the profile, enthusiasm, energy levels, and very often publishers are limited in their mindset because they're looking at it as a business. Very often we get very good ideas from the author. So the idea is, if an author and a publisher can actually, in an ideal sense, have a really good discussion about their strengths and their weaknesses, there are ways to get around this.
But I think coming back to the point of people, maybe people having certain stature. I mean, for example, Dr. Kalam, who wouldn't want to? There were so many people who'd want to listen to what he thought on certain areas or what So his books sell so many copies because he has a huge fan following. So for certain people who have that kind of following, it is a natural step to write a book. You have a ready readership. So for a publisher, I think that is an easy way. I would definitely say it's easy to publish these people. But certainly if they are not only in terms of their work, what they're doing, they're illustrious and have a great body of work, but even if they have following on social media or these days Instagram and all of that, it helps. And a lot of these people are not very famous. There are a lot of young people, which is substantial. They're bloggers, and they're not celebrities. And we are very actively actually scouting among these people who are sort of faceless sometimes, but they have a substantial following. So actually that is also a way to get published. For a lot of younger people who have that knack of building, a fan base or do something in an interesting way and get a following, a book is a natural next step.
So any bloggers out there, you know where to go. Okay, now Akash, this has been a personal grouse, and also for most of the authors when I talk to them in this community. And that's that publishers have managed to stay afloat in this entire worsening situation by passing on more and more marketing and sales responsibility to the author. Okay. Now, today manuscripts come with...
I think our marketing managers, yes, I should...
Today manuscripts come with sexy marketing plans. Why? And why? I know there is a role the publisher plays, a very important role in making sure that the right books get selected, puts out in those channels. But how much is the offtake from those channels is kind of the responsibility of the author eventually. Why? We had this discussion. I go back to my last PILF discussion with, and I know Mr. Chopra was sitting there, and he had a very contrary view to that. And I stood up here on the same stage and said, authors must take marketing responsibility and accountability for their books. And he had a completely different view. He said, you guys just interfere too much in marketing. You should just write your book and forget about it and let the publisher do the job. What's your view on it? We'll come to Mr. Chopra after you. So I'm just warning you.
I do think it's a partnership. And I think, again, going back to the question of, what do we want to do with the book? Why are we publishing this book? So if we both, the author and the publisher, agree that our goal is to make this the most successful commercially. I mean, that's, honestly, one reason why we do it. And in that case, we both have to put in whatever resources that we have to make that successful. Now, in today's scenario, and unlike maybe the past, we're competing against, this is what everyone talks about, right? I'm saying it, but just to put it into context, movies, the internet, you have so many different ways to spend your time. How are we going to get that attention from the readers who have so many options? And unless we both work together, maybe it is investing in visibility. Maybe
you're not answering my question.
Sorry. Okay.
You're not answering my question.
Okay.
My question is very simple.
Okay.
Why does the author need to come with a marketing plan when he submits the manuscript? The marketing plan ideally should be the publisher's responsibility.
So we already have a marketing process in place. The authors give us ideas beyond what we're able to do, which is great. So why should we not work, and it's not only a content game anymore. So.
And please understand, by doing that, the author is not doing any disservice. The author is an equal stakeholder as the publisher.
He's not. I'll tell you why he's not.
Why?
He's not because you pay 5% royalty to the author.
How much do you think the publisher is
No,
making?
hear me. 5% royalty to the author. You are a large organization. An author is somebody sitting in some corner, earning some 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 rupees a month, maybe 40,000 rupees salary. For him to do that kind of an activity is almost impossible. To Facebook today, he has to spend money to make sure people see his posts. Where does he get that money from? He does not get that money from anywhere but your royalties, which are not sufficient for him to do all that activity. He pulls out money from somewhere else and does that. Is that a right thing to do? Probably not. Probably for a Chetan or an Amish or an Ashwin or any of those big authors, it may actually be fine because they earn royalties.
And for Ravi also.
Huge advances.
For Ravi also, yeah.
They earn huge advances which kind of pays for it, but not for a regular first-time author, absolutely not. And the reason why I'm saying this is because all your marketing plan kicks in after the author has become big.
Yeah.
For the first-time author, there is close to zilch which is done.
Ravi, I disagree with that, at least from the point of view of how we've been working.
And I just like to add that all the proposals.
Okay, guys,
that
my
we
job
get
is to
don't
provocate
have-
this conversation.
All proposals
And you did
don't
a good
have
job.
marketing plans, and we don't ask for marketing plans with the proposals.
So don't we.
To be honest, we don't ask, but some of them send it on their own, which is welcome. Like like Swarup was saying, we don't mind if authors have ideas of how to promote their work and know what their readership is, which makes our job easier. And we don't expect all authors to spend on their books. I think that's something very clear. Some of them want to do it on their own, which is okay.
And Ravi, by the way, for each book, every book, at least a minimum deliverable on marketing is definitely done from our side. Definitely. Right? It is beyond that. Say, for example, I'll just, to break the clutter, right? Say, if 5 journalists more, from our side, they're going to be really, getting 15 books, right? And they're going to be getting books from everyone, with all the releases coming in, including the international ones. And they're going to be very picky about which one to give that coverage for. So maybe that one phone call would be an add-on benefit for that guy's book. It is not for mine, as much as it's for me. Sorry,
Sir?
Well, there are books and books, and there are authors and authors. Let me put it: if an author comes with a marketing plan, we never ask. Like all of them said, Milee said, in a proposal sheet, it's never there. But if the author comes with a marketing plan, we are most happy because we don't have to spend then. Let the author take care of it. And authors do interfere at times. At times, those are very good interferences because very good proposals. Let's not forget the end of the day, we are quite cynical as publishers because we are handling so many projects, but you are handling only one project. And I agree with you on one point that every publisher must at least reply to a proposal because decency, courtesy demands that you reply, which we don't, of course. I also admitted that, not all the time, for whatever reasons. But courtesy demands, after all, is the author's baby. He or she may have spent 5 months, 5 years, I don't know how long each one takes. But the fact is, just a basic courtesy, it doesn't fit into our schedule, which is our normal language. But there are authors and authors. There are publishers and publishers, there are titles and titles. It all depends. Who is the author, what is the project, and what is the marketing plan like? I would say that at the end of the day, the relationship between a publisher and an author is like that of a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a wife or a husband. If it's wife and husband, it's just more conflict than is necessary. But if it's between the boyfriend, the girlfriend, and depending who's playing what role, is more cordial. And let's all pitch into it as authors. Some of you are sitting here. Like when I did my books, one with Penguin and one with HarperCollins, I just told them, don't ask me to do anything once the final manuscript has been cleared. Don't even ask me to promote this book. I'm not an advocate for my own book. No, that's my way of looking at it, and that's what I meant last year. I know you have a long memory and no power to forgive, but but that's what I meant, that at the end of the day, it is the publisher who knows his job And there are authors today who know their jobs, and they are very good, because all these young authors are great. Like young publishers, look at Milee, my God. I feel a complex that I wasted my years in publishing when I see her list. But that's the way, it's all going that way, because they are great, they have a great head for figures. When I joined the profession, there were no figures. There was no such thing as figures. It was what the text is all about.
But that is also nice once in a while.
It is. I'm not saying, so each to his own. I may sound as a fossil today, but the fact is I am one. Look at these youngsters, one author, 3 publishers sitting, and I really mean it when I say at times when I hear them or when I see the works of young authors and their marketing plans, whether it is Ravi or Shobha. Even Shobha is, of course, in the elderly group, but she's done a great job with marketing with each title. And mind you, she's the only author I can think of at the moment, 19 books or 20 books?
More than 20.
Or more than 20 books, each one of them, without exception, a constant bestseller. And I'm talking of she started
That's true.
25 years back. There's no other single example, each one. And each one, without exception, getting awful reviews in the press. And yet, every publisher wants her on his or her list. And every author is envious of her. It was like Kushwant Singh. At one stage, any book, even his recycled columns in the form of books. Well, I published 37 of his books, all recycled except for one, and I published 2 books on him, and each one of them did 40,000 copies plus. But Ravi, we do fail also badly at times. I remember I did 2 years, 3 years back, an official biography of Baba Ramdev. And I thought it was going to sell. And our stockists are Penguin, and they were so excited about it. And he gave us some rare pictures of his being 1 year old in the lap of his parents and all. And, we all went gaga over it. 10,000 copies were in the press, another 5 were on a standby. And finally, how many do you think? One example you can give. Just about 80 copies.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's why I think timing is very important in publishing.
Timing is very
If you do
important.
the same book probably today,
No, I don't
might
think so.
outsell.
We did, with your team, sales team, we did go into it all why. But I think there's so many reasons, and on hindsight, we are all clever. But the fact remains is that Baba Ramdev may have a great following in the, the language areas. I mean, non-English speaker, but English book will not sell. And there's so many examples like that.
I'll ask you separately whether one of the cover photos in India Today was from that book.
from your collection.
Yeah. But okay, I have just a couple of questions more because we are quite short in time. One of them is for you, Akash. Is with all these huge advances being paid out to specific authors, and really minuscule royalties being paid out to new authors. I'm actually going to the other side and saying, are these advances for real?
Actually, from my perspective, we don't. If it doesn't make sense, we don't do it. So that's why I'm.
No, I'm saying, are these
as,
advances really paid, or are they just for headline's sake?
Yeah, there's a
put
mix
out in the
of.
newspaper saying,
It's kind of a mix. I think some of them are, not the full information isn't given. It's partially projected as a PR kind of thing that so much money has been paid. But
Well, it all depends on the book. If a book can take it, then
No,
we
my
do
question is
fail.
not about the quantum of advances paid. My question is the quantum of advances that we hear about in the press being paid to a few authors.
I
And
think it's
those
true.
make headline news. Are they real numbers or?
I hope so. I mean, we put out the real numbers mostly, and so I hope the other publishers are doing the same.
Ravi, and just to tell you, say one of the biggest advances paid, right? The company which paid that diluted 26% of its stake for a little over that advance. They should have possibly given the stake away to the author itself.
Do you people know my questions? because my next question is exactly on that, which is the valuations of the publishing industry the way they are.
Right.
And given that Penguin, the largest, is roughly a 200 crore turnover business, give or take a few crores.
And that it's not Penguin, it's PRH.
It's PRH, okay. And the next best is what? Harper at about 110, 120 crores, and then it goes on.
Lesser.
So you typically have the entire English publishing industry less than 1,000 crores, or maybe around that number. Mergers and acquisitions are happening. You know, Penguin, Random House merged. You know, tomorrow you'll have a Harper, Hachette, Schuster, Westland Private Limited. You know, maybe you never know. I'm just giving a scenario. Are these mergers and acquisitions which are happening in this particular space, some out of need, some out of greed, are they good for the author community?
I think Milee is the best person to answer this.
Well, our authors are definitely happier because with Penguin and Random House coming in, they were number 1 and number 2. We have more resources, we have bigger bandwidth, and we have a bigger team. We've also gotten, because it was a merger scenario and everything was getting restructured, we also got an opportunity to look at our processes, what was working fine, what was not, and streamline a lot of things. So I would say that this would lead to our authors being happy, and it's a good thing, it's a positive thing. You're bigger and we're stronger.
I just want to add to that. You know, being a publisher whose authors, a couple of authors who have moved to a couple of the larger publishers. I was just having a conversation with one of them who was, he did a book. I don't want to name him right now, but he did a book with us, and he went to a larger publisher. And in the beginning, he was very excited about how it was being handled. By the end of it, he was like, Akash, I miss the personal interaction that you had with me. I miss meeting members of your team on a regular basis, the kind of attention that you gave. So I think if the smaller publishers or medium-sized publishers are able to choose the number of books that they do in a way that they can pay adequate attention, I think we can offer a lot in terms of the older world where there was more of a personal kind of interaction with the author. I mean, it's not an ideal interaction. It's clearly a business partnership, but I think there are opportunities there, and I think that's also very possible.
You know, back in the early 2000s, a lot of retail bank mergers were happening, and every merger would take away one career opportunity. So the same thing is happening in the publishing space. Every merger means one publisher or multiple publishers less for you to take your manuscript to. So I don't know how it pans out from the perspective of younger and newer authors, but we'll wait and watch.
I think there are more companies as well, Lead Start, that's a startup. There are more publishing houses also coming up. So there are more publishers and authors, that authors can go to.
And this question is for both Akash and Swarup, more for Swarup than Akash, in the sense that if traditional publisher does not publish you, there are a lot of people who advise and advocate that you go to self-publishing houses.
Yes, yes.
Now, what's your take on self-publishing? It's rendered sexy because of a few top authors having come from that particular path. So, what's your take on this, and what would be your advice to people out here?
Right. So, let me give you an example, and I'll take a leaf from a previous point that you made of a profiled author. We get a ton of cookery books by elderly women, by some chefs who are not well known. The writing quality would be as good as a Sanjeev Kapoor or Vikas Khanna, who's possibly the new flavor of the season, right? But will a traditional publishing company publish it? It will be a clear no, for all the reasons that Milee mentioned. Now, what is the scope for that book to do, right? Or what is the monetization scope for that book? Either it goes out on blogs and gets free, or does video blogs on YouTube, or gets published as a self-published book, right? So the notion of self-publishing being a place for people who've been rejected of traditional publishing is a wrong notion. It's a very different segment. So there are a lot of niche books where self-publishing works very well. There are these areas where smaller places, as in unknown faces with good content, where self-publishing works very well. We ourselves have a sister concern which is in self-publishing. Become Shakespeare. So does Penguin have one, and most others are also coming out there, right? So the good part of self-publishing is when it is started off by a publishing team, at least you're getting the same skill set or a similar skill set, and these products would have been niche anyways.
Ravi, I have 2 points on that. One is if you want to see a physical book published, edited well, and nicely packaged, I think you should definitely go to a self-publisher. But we get a lot of authors giving us their self-published books saying, Akash, there's no distribution. How do I get my books out? So once that initial excitement of seeing your physical book see on your desk, then you wonder, that's when it strikes you that what are we going to do next? How am I going to get this book out to more people? Okay, you can put it online, you can put it maybe in a couple of stores, but essentially you need the publishing industry to help distribute it. And in today's day, very often so you have the larger publishers who have connected distribution, and you have smaller publishers going to other distributors who sometimes don't have that bandwidth to take 1 or 2 titles. So I think the problem arises once the book is published.
I think beyond that, even at self-publishing units, now we are managing a lot of traditional publishing authors, marketing, social media management at Become Shakespeare, which is a self-publishing entity but has marketing services. Similarly, a book that was published from Become Shakespeare, which is our self-publishing entity, a sister concern, right? One of the books did so well, Akash picked it up, in the sense it went on to become a Jaco book, right?
This is very eerie. I just want to ask you this question further, and I'll tell you why. Because if you go back and look at all the commercial successes today,
right,
and I would like you to come into this discussion in terms of the points that I'm going to make right now. A lot of these authors who today get published by the bigger publishing houses are people who've either come up the self-publishing route, or people who have been published by smaller publishers, become tremendous success, and then picked up by the bigger publishing houses and said, look, this is our big author. Now, you guys do all the hard work.
Yeah.
Okay. Get the guy up and running, and he goes to the bigger publisher and says, here I am. Or the bigger publisher actually, okay, I'm not gesturing towards you, okay. So,
but we are.
And the bigger publisher goes and just poaches him because they have the muscle power, they have money.
Absolutely.
So, somewhere down the line, very, very loosely, the issue of ethics comes in.
Yeah.
So not completely, but yes, it does. What do you have to say on that?
Okay, so you've changed how many publishers till yet? 3?
I changed the publisher after 5 books.
Fair point.
And I did it not because of advance. I did it because of certain reasons which the entire industry knows.
Absolutely, I was just pulling a leg. Sorry. So just to quickly answer on that, yeah, it becomes difficult, but there are 2 sides of the coin again, right? So for example, we've launched out a lot of authors. They became very popular with our work, our releases. And as I told you already, the risk that we carry is so high, and you'll get almost 3 or 5 large successes. And a larger, well-muscled publisher comes in, throws around a larger advance and picks them up. It becomes a little issue, of course. It's heartening. It's really hard to see them go. While at that...
Do you hold back the advances for the previous books? The royalty for the previous books?
No, we don't.
You don't?
No, we don't. Right. But what happens well is, so for example, all these people who have also changed, as a publisher myself, I've matured enough to now understand that when they go into a larger house and they get more popular, my backlist becomes stronger. It doesn't suffer, right? And
That's an interesting point.
yeah, so invariably at every launch that is happening there, I get to ride on Milee's money, in the sense, one way, right? And I'm getting and a lot of times the backlists do better.
So, yeah, do you see a fundamental difference in the overall broad ethics in the publishing space from the time?
Well, as I said earlier, you are in the marketplace, and you have to decide what is good for you. After all, it's your baby, not mine. I mean the author's baby. You have spent time. You have to decide who the nanny is going to be and who the midwife is going to be. But from a personal example, I can say, and there are some friends here from the publishing trade, Milee is there, Akash is there. I can very, very proudly say at the cost of a boast that I've not lost a single author in the last 30 years. No. And I am a very small publishing house. It may be international publishing house, but it's a small publishing house. And they've never left me. To give you an example, for example, Fali Nariman. He's done already 2 books, third one is coming out later this year. Everybody's approached him with huge advances because he sells so well. And he is very clear that he's not going to go to anyone. Ashok is the publisher. Look at Salman Khurshid. Look at Kiran Bedi. You know, I published her when I was in UBS. And when I moved, she took the book away from UBS and gave it to HarperCollins to Hay House. Look at Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Mr. Dilip Kumar, the film actor, did his book. I waited 24 years to publish him. Everybody, Random House, Penguin, Hachette, HarperCollins, they all gave him huge advances. But look at that man. He very clearly told his wife, Saira Banu, that no, only Ashok will do that. It's my commitment to him. So I haven't lost. So I think basically at the end of the day in Indian publishing, though the scenario is changing very rapidly, it is also a great relationship. Like our joint family relationships in India, it's a great relationship between the author and the publisher. Shiv Khera, I have not published him. He did come to me. He did go to so many others, but finally he stuck to Bloomsbury. Because Rajiv Berry, who was at one stage the head of Macmillan's, published him. And when Rajiv left Macmillan's, he went to Rupa, he came to me. Rupa did publish him. I think they did 1 or 2 reprints.
They did as well.
Yeah. But he went back to Rajiv in Bloomsbury, who Rajiv now controls Bloomsbury, and he went back. So it's a great personal relationship between the author and the publisher at the end of the day in India. But even abroad, there are lots of authors, international authors, like say Jhumpa Lahiri. She hasn't changed the publisher, and she won't. She told me that I'm not going to change my publisher. No, look at Manju Kapoor. Yeah. Now, I was the one who gave Manju Kapoor to Random House many years back.
Thank you.
You know the story. And I want Manju Kapoor. She's a very dear friend. I vet her manuscript before they're sent to the publisher. I can't ask her because our relationship, Hay House and Penguin and Random House relationships are like family. But she told me just very recently, I cannot give my book to anybody but Random House. So that, even if I went to her with double the advance, she wouldn't go. It's a personal relationship.
I very strongly second that, because at the end of the day, it is not only money is important, numbers are important, but it comes down to the relationship, the chemistry, how good the editor and the author work. Because in the end, there are 2 people who are working, and if they enjoy working together, they like to work again with each other. So I think editors are really, really important when it comes to authors staying back or leaving a particular publishing house. And that's why you see that sometimes when publishers leave, then some authors leave, because they are the ones who are really like working very closely with authors. So I definitely would like to second that. I have personally been in a lot of situations where our advances were lower, but the authors stayed back because of the relationships or the way we were involved in their books. So even authors like, say, Fali Nariman or Anupam Kher, who will be here tomorrow evening, they have never ever asked me, how much will you pay me? Never. So at the end of the day, you know what it is? It's basically the author is always pregnant with some idea or the other. The publisher is always ready. As the publisher is always ready. Now, as I always say, during pregnancy, don't talk of divorce. That's all.
Okay, we'll let that go. It's a different point that Fali Nariman and Anupam Kher don't really need to count the dollars from the publishing business. So for them, it doesn't matter. For them, the other factors. But before we end, Akash, I just want you to, if you were to give advice to people out here, first-time authors, what would be the 3 things that you would want to tell them?
I think a lot of the points, maybe just summarizing a couple of things that, I think you had said earlier. One is clearly that I think one is to understand, where book publishing is today and understand what you're getting into. It is, it's serious business, writing a book and getting it published. It's not something that, which could just happen. You just go to a publisher, get it printed and get it distributed. It's not like that. It requires a lot of involvement. So I think one is to understand what the industry is about and then find the publisher that's suitable for the kind of content that you are doing. And thirdly, third is that marketing is very essential in books today, and it's important to be part of that process. Thanks.
Okay, actually, there's one more question which I wanted to ask, and that's for Mr. Chopra. From the time that you've been publishing and till today, the end user is getting the book at the same price. The price of books haven't gone. 8 years back or 9 years back, I published my first book. It sold at 195. Today my books sell at 350. After discount, the customer still gets it at 195. So, what's your take on it? World over, books are far more expensive. Is it because books are underpriced in India, or they're actually undervalued?
Both. Let's first of all get this very clear. India was never, is not a nation of book lovers. More publishing houses are coming, more authors are naturally coming on the scene, more titles are being published. But the numbers of, as far as the print run is concerned, still remain the same. When I joined the publishing industry, that's 40 years back. Do I look that old? No. When I joined the publishing industry 40 years back, our print runs were 2,000 copies. Today, an average print run is still 2,000 to 3,000 copies. It hasn't changed. And the pricing, which Ravi just asked me the question is on pricing, even at that time, 30, 40 years back, the number was 199 rupees or 299 rupees, or maximum you would go to 350 rupees. It still remains the same because the minute you outprice yourself, the book is finished. That is a very important fact, but we publishers also do our little gimmicks and tricks and all those, we play those, simply because we, at the end of the day, we are making money. In this entire self-publishing program, let's be honest about it, face facts, and we should face facts, it's a good way for us to make money. Okay? Author is very happy because his or her ego is satisfied. Oh, my book is in print. But the fact is, we are making the money, and that is what the self-publishing program is all about. Nothing more. So think twice. But as far as this pricing is concerned, it's just that in hardbacks, we do publish, we do put it at a higher price, $5.99 for a small book of 250, 300 pages. Because at the end of the day, I have to pay salaries, I have to run that office, I have to make the money. So we do that. Small print runs or large, depending on the work and the author. But when it comes to paperbacks, it goes back to the normal pricing.
Ravi, I have a little different take from what Mr. Chopra just said. For the pricing dip that has happened, that has been a parallel industry phenomena, not a publishing industry phenomena at all. The prices have gone up, the input costs have gone up big time, right? So when your book was getting priced at 350, the people who are discounting it are people at e-commerce outlets. It is not at the retail outlet. Yet at Crossword, your book does sell at 350. Vis-a-vis a Flipkart or an Amazon.in wants to sell it at whatever 199 or whatever that be, and that is for a customer acquisition cost that they are trying to get in those many details of the customer acquisition and then make money selling mobile phones, and they'll drop the publishing industry.
No, I must say it's not only for the online selling, it is even for the retail. Like in Delhi, if you go to Midland, you can, or Takesons was there previously, you can easily get 25% off. It's written there, 25% off. So it is that. But because we want to sell, and the footfall in the bookshops is not there the way it should be.
To me, a book at 100 rupees doesn't make sense.
Well, that's again part of entire marketing where the author comes in and says, no, I wanted this number, and there's so many things involved.
Thank you very much, folks. I think time's up. We've been seeing that sign for the last 5 minutes, So thank you very much. Thank you very much for bearing with us. The 4 publishers would actually be there for you to talk to in case you want to talk to them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.